I'd like to call to order the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education meeting. Can we please stand for the pledge? Thank you. Moving on to number 3, standing approval items. 3.1, acceptance of the agenda. Do I see any additions, deletions? Seeing none, approved by consensus. Item 3.2, approval of minutes. Can I have a recommendation, please? Mr. Jaworski.
Be resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the following minutes. February 1st, 2024, special minutes of the Finance and Facilities Committee. February 8th, 2024, regular minutes, and February 22nd, 2024, a special meeting, which was a board workshop.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Alexander. Mrs. Anderson, can we have a roll call?
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, public comment. If you would like to make a public comment, a person may address the board on an agenda or non-agenda item by completing a note card located inside the boardroom and place the card in the basket prior to the citizen public comment period. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If you need more time, you are afforded a second opportunity to address the board at the end of the meeting with an additional 3 minutes. Please address the board as a whole and not individually. Public comment is not intended for the exchange of dialogue. This is a time for members of the public to express their views. We are paying attention to your comments and appreciate them. However, school board members do not respond to public comment during the meeting. Questions that arise from public comment shall be referred to the superintendent or their designee for review, study, and possible future response. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. I have Rachel Shearview. Sorry. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel Curianu, and I am a former middle school teacher, and I also am a counselor for the state of Michigan, a school counselor. And before sending both of my boys, 7th and 9th grade, to Royal Oak Public Schools, I homeschooled for 7 years in the state of California. So I'm here to talk about the amazing job that the middle school is doing with their Wellness Wednesday program and their other social emotional programs that they're doing. And I have to say that what the middle school is doing, I would really like to see at the high school level, and I really haven't seen that. At the middle school, from the emails that I'm getting and from what my son is telling me, they're doing yoga, they're painting rocks, and they're playing outside games, which I live within spitting distance of the middle school, and it warms my heart to just hear them playing outside. So I think that these types of programs are long overdue in schools, just like we put importance on academics and just like we put importance on physical well-being through gym. Social and emotional well-being needs to start being addressed, and you guys are doing a fantastic job with this program at the middle school. And if you're like me, I'm sure that you have people in your life, whether people you work with, people in your family, that never got these skills and tools. So although they might be incredibly intelligent, they don't have the skills to regulate themselves emotionally. They can't work in teams, they can't have a conversation. And so what a disservice we would be doing to our kids in high school without giving them these skills and tools. So with that said, I think that it is important to invest in the social emotional health of teenagers today, as it's going to be an investment in the well-being of our society tomorrow. And before I leave, I will just say that I just don't want to say my piece and leave. Like, I'm legit, as a parent, want to know what we can do to bring this to the high school, whether it's collabing or just coming alongside. So we can chat afterwards. But thank you.
Thank you. No other public comment. We'll move on to item number 5, proclamations and recognitions. 5.1, Women's History Month. Can I have a resolution, Mrs. Cook?
Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. Whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social role in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. Whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation. Whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement. Whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military. Whereas American women have been leaders, not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which create a more fair and just society for all. And whereas despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history, now therefore be it resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education designate March Women's History Month.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Alexander. Mrs. Anderson, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 5.2, Board Proclamation, Civil Learning Week. Ms. Yasinski.
Whereas our nation's longstanding and ongoing audacious experiment in self-governance requires a populace with an understanding of the nation's laws and government, the skills for discussion and working together across difference, and a widespread commitment to the civic strength of our communities. And whereas civic education is vital to sustaining and strengthening constitutional democracy in the United States of America, and whereas the practice of a democracy must be taught and learned anew by each generation. And whereas the civic mission of schools plays a central role in building the civic strength of our populace as a country, and whereas Civic Learning Week seeks to unite our community and highlight the importance of civic knowledge, skills, and dispositions that provide the foundation for an informed and engaged populace, and whereas Royal Oak Schools Board of Education has taken steps to prioritize and invest in civic learning, therefore be it proclaimed that March 11th through 15th, 2024 shall be recognized as Civic Learning Week in Royal Oak Schools.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Anderson, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Item 5.3, Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Week. Mr. Jaworski.
Whereas multiple sclerosis is a chronic, often debilitating disease of the central nervous system that affects nearly 1 million people in the United States, and whereas it typically strikes young people between the ages of 20 and 40, affecting twice as many women as men, and whereas symptoms of MS vary from person to person and may include blurred vision, loss of balance, poor coordination, slurred speech, tremors, numbness, extreme fatigue, problems with memory and concentration, paralysis, depression, and more. And whereas the exact cause of multiple sclerosis is unknown and there is no known cure, and whereas Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Week provides an opportunity to increase awareness to this disease and to assist individuals in leading a more productive and satisfying life for the benefit of themselves, their caregivers, their families, and the entire community. And whereas with increased awareness, we hope that one day we will find a cure. Now therefore be it resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education proclaim March 10th through 17th, 2024 as Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Week, and will call this observance to the attention of our community.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Haynes. Can we have a roll call, please?
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Item 5.4, donations. Mrs. Fitzpatrick?
Thank you very much. As we often talk here at the regular board meetings, we have several community groups and especially our PTAs out in our schools that provide extra opportunities to our students in the district. So right now I'd like to invite up our principal, Molly Bascom-Keller from Northwood, and Aaron Rice, president of the Northwood PTA, to talk about their donation.
Hi, good evening. This is Erin Rice, our PTA president at Northwood, and we're so happy to be here. We are here to ask for approval for some funds being donated by the PTA for some playground equipment at Northwood. We have had the equipment company out for a site visit with Jeff Sinowick and both Erin and myself to make sure that the equipment would all work on our grounds. Also, the quote includes on our south playground, which is primarily used for 3rd through 5th grade, although it's also used for all grades at lunchtime. That would include a basketball hoop. There's an existing cement slab there, so it works perfectly. And then our north playground, which is primarily used for kindergarten through 2nd grade, it would be for a bench, which would be a buddy bench, and also a place for the children to sit when it's warm outside in the shade. We're going to put it under the tree there. And then also the 2nd grade, 1st grade, and kindergartners love, love, love the swings. It's the absolute favorite thing on the playground. So the second piece of equipment for that playground is a large bird's nest swing, which is a real big swing that can accommodate multiple children. So that swing, because of the clearance needed, we need to push out the play portion of the playground slightly into the grassy area, which works, and Mr. Sunoco approved all of that. So that is what it includes. The quote includes both the equipment and the installation. So we are here asking for approval.
Thank you. Any questions? Oh, Mr. Jaworski.
It's not a question. I just want to compliment Ms. Rice and the entire PTA. I know that they had a lot of trouble. They were trying to find companies that would even give them a quote to come out and look at this. So it's a long process, and they did a lot of good due diligence to get this project done. I'm very excited that it's finally coming to fruition.
And we'd also like to thank you because you helped us find some of the city suppliers, and that's how we were able to find the equipment and get somebody to give us a quote. So thank you so much. Team effort. Yes. For sure.
Well, thank you very much. Can I have a recommendation, please? Mr. Jaworski.
Be resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education gratefully accepts the following donations as presented. Northwood PTA, $21,319.94 for playground equipment, and then also is an anonymous donation of $1,000 to the ROMS Level 3 SE program.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Alexander. Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I'll vote yes, and the motion passes.
Thank you both for coming here very much. And thank you to our ROMS anonymous donation that we have pretty much every month. So we're very grateful for that support that is ongoing and continuous. So thank you. Item number 6, presentations and reports. Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to invite up our interim principal of Royal Oak High School, Ms. Angela Ashburn. And she has a special guest with her this evening, one of our students. So if you would also come up, and I'm going to let Ms. Ashburn tell us a little bit about why she's here and why we're honoring one of our high school students at this time. Ms. Ashburn, thank you.
I actually have 3 students. I have Matthew Matola. He can come up if he wants. Come on, Matthew. I have Delaney Dalzio. She can come on up. And I have Xavier Procurat. Come on up, guys. There are 2 students that could not make it tonight, Brandon Comer and Ava Doty. So there were 5 students altogether. They're going to be... Come on, guys. So these are commended students in the 2024 National Merit Scholarship Program. About 34,000 commended students throughout the nation are being recognized for their exceptional academic promise. Although Although they don't continue to the competition for the National Merit Scholarship Award, which we did earlier this year, they placed among the top 50,000 students who entered the 2024 competition by taking the preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship qualifying test. Those being named commended students have demonstrated outstanding potential for academic success. These students represent a valuable national resource. Recognizing their accomplishments is vital to the advancement of educational excellence in our nation. We hope that this recognition will help broaden their educational opportunities and encourage them as they continue their pursuit of academic success. So we're really proud of them. They got plaques too, but I don't know if
Right.
anybody brought them up.
So, are you going to invite
We
them?
framed them so they look nice,
Okay.
but they already got those. But thank you guys. And their families are all here with them because everyone's proud of them. Thank you guys.
For our students, come on back up. Come on, can't get off the hook. So if you would just go to the microphone, tell us who came with you this evening, because I'm sure you had a lot of support along the way, and also what your plans might be for the future after Royal Oak High School.
Today, with me, I brought my mom, Miho Prokrat. She is a teacher at Upton, I plan on attending college. I'm not sure where yet, but I'm excited to figure it out.
Awesome.
Today I brought my mom, and then I brought two of my grandparents, and after high school I plan on attending the University of Michigan.
Oh, congratulations.
I brought with me my mom tonight, and after college not after college. After high school, I plan on attending the University of Michigan for political science.
Well, congratulations to all the students, all five, and for placing. That's impressive. It's really impressive, and I'm proud of all of them. And we'll pause for a photo. And that's for parents too, if you want to take a photo. I always tell senior students you have to be prepared for photos and lots of photos, and you have to take them because it's parents' wishes to take as many photos as possible senior year. Item number 6.2, instructional coaching. Dr. Ioannis.
Thank you, Mrs. Van Heidsma. We thought that approaching the spring season, it would be great timing to have our instructional coaches attend the board meeting tonight to give us some updates on some of the wonderful things that they're doing within our classrooms to support our instructional practices and increase student engagement and learning. So we have Ann Najovu here, our supervisor of elementary education. I will turn it over to her, and she will introduce the wonderful people that are here today to speak about this topic.
Good evening, everybody. I am happy to be here with our two of our instructional coaches and two of our elementary teachers as well. I'd like to introduce Molly Brinker, instructional coach. We have Linda Burton, who is also an instructional coach specifically for our LEO project. And then we have, excuse me, 5th grade teacher Laura Foss, who teaches at Upton. And then we also have Sarah Ross, our 1st grade teacher at Oakland. We are missing another instructional coach tonight. It is Kara Daunt. She's part-time. As you all know, that she's also IB coordinator, so she is not able to make it tonight. But just like Dr. Ioannis said, we wanted to share all the work that has been going on this year and in past years. Leo has been in our district for multiple years. We added more instructional coaches last school year, and we just want you to get a taste of the impact that our instructional coaches are having on our elementary programs. So I will turn it over to Molly.
Good evening, everyone. We wanted to directly connect our work with what is passionate for you, which is your long-range planning, your goals 1 and 4. Everything that we do directly relates to what you want to do as a board. So in our, for goal number 1, we are working with teachers on a daily basis, multiple teachers, and Royal Oak really has the very best teachers. Linda and I have been in the district for a very long time, and there's no place we would rather be. And to watch our staff grow and then turn over, and we have so many new teachers, and the energy they bring and the passion they bring for student learning, it is just amazing. And there's nothing better than supporting those teachers day in and day out, so that when they're 25 years in or 30 some years in for Linda, that they love kids, they love this gift we have of being with kids each day as much as we do. Some of the work that we've done around goal 1 is specifically with our coaching cycles. A coaching cycle entails teachers working with us for roughly 4 to 6 weeks, 2 to 3 times per week, around a student goal. We have 2 wonderful teachers here that will explain how that impacted them in a little bit. However, the coaching cycles are student-centered. That means we really look at what we see and hear around our students, and a goal that the teacher feels is most important to start with. So we take some pre-data. Dr. Ioannis, if you would take a moment for me and click on the student-centered coaching. It'll kind of show you the form. We think it's really important that no matter what building you're in, no matter what teacher you are, or what coach you have, we have some cohesion. So we all agree to some protocols and to some way to document our data to show that we are directly impacting student learning. So you'll notice here that it's based around our standards. We collect some pre-data, and then we kind of dig in a little bit to see, and we start making a plan to address the needs or address the skill set that we feel is most important at that time. We make some decisions together as a partnership. What's the teacher gonna do? What's the coach gonna do? Or is the coach gonna model? Are we gonna do some co-teaching? Those types of things. And then over that course of 4 to 6 weeks, we collect data again to see, is our course of action working? Thank you, Dr. Ioannis, you can go back. But it doesn't just involve reading, writing, math, science, social studies, the academic areas. We have students with so many different variables in their lives and some unique learning needs and we have so many new teachers that don't have that deep toolbox that we have, that we've been able to support them even in those social emotional. There's a picture up there of a newer teacher who had a student who just had some regulation needs this year, and we took some data, right? We collected, do we notice patterns? Do we notice times of day? Are there different triggers that we could eliminate? And then we put in some structures for that student. We put in a little tent for to block out the noise and have a little calming corner. And then we did a reset. 6 weeks later, we collected that same data around the same time. And, we looked to see, did it work? And so that's really, we're in all 6 buildings. We work with DK to 5 teachers on any area that is important to that teacher. So now Linda's going to talk about how we also work on Goal 4.
As we support teachers, one of our all-time goal is to make sure that their teaching experience is successful and that also we help retain them and keep them in the teaching profession. It can be particularly challenging for our mentor teachers, those teachers that have 1, 2, or 3 years experience, our learning curriculum, our learning school, and then dealing with everything all at once. So this year, as coaches, we worked with supporting our mentor teachers through coaching cycles. Many of them set goals early on in the year and have been reaching out to us throughout the year to set up a coaching cycle, to work on specific needs, or just to be someone to ask a question. Even though they all have mentors in their building, there are times where that co-collaboration that we can do, spend time with them planning in a way that their mentors may or may not be able to spend time with them, especially during the course of a school day or as they plan units. So we've really been supporting some of our mentor teachers. We've set out this year, the coaching team has done some surveys where, we've established a literacy goal here in Royal Oak, and as a coaching team, we work with the teachers to support that goal, and we've done that through PD throughout the year. We have a Shifting the Balance book study going on both in K2 that addresses some of the shifts we know of that are happening in reading in terms of the science of reading and balanced literacy. We've done that PD with our K2 teachers. We just started another round with a second book for aimed at our 3-5 teachers, and we're hearing those conversations happening and people starting to ask questions and wanting to know more and wanting to be able to put in new instructional practices in their place. And we're excited about where that will lead us as we continue reading these books and delving into the new science, how that can look in your classroom. We've spent time with creating shared libraries. All of the elementary schools got, Ann, help me out, how many books? 22,000 new books this year that we labeled and got into classrooms. And teachers are reaching out on how to use those books and how to get them in the hands of kids and use those strategies. So it's been really exciting for our elementary teachers. We've worked a lot with small group instruction. That's been our essential practice of the 10 essential practices in the state of Michigan for literacy. We've really been working into small group instruction because we know that's where we get our biggest bang for our buck and we can meet the unique needs of all of our learners. So we've been supporting teachers in that endeavor. And then our coaching cycles, lab classrooms, the girls are here to talk about how we have come into working with them through a lab experience in conjunction with Oakland Schools. They'll tell you more about that. And then we've done, just recently, our ELA leadership team has done learning walks throughout all 6 elementary schools. These are the teachers that will be helping to choose an ELA pilot for the next year. When we're looking at materials, they had a chance to get into all the buildings and look at what literacy looks like in a building other than their own, in a grade level other than their own. And we've facilitated that with some debriefing and have had some really rich conversation about what literacy looks like here in Royal Oak. So I'd like to introduce Laura Foss and Sarah Ross, and they're going to tell you about their impact through coaching.
Okay, well, Sarah has told me that I am going first, so that is what I will do. I jotted some notes down on note cards, but I could go on and on about how invaluable Molly and Linda and our coaches are. And I know that, being from Royal Oak myself, having gone through Royal Oak schools, graduating, going to Michigan State, and coming back here, I'm really happy to see that the coaches are just taking our educators to the next level, and they really are just beyond dedicated to helping make sure that not only are our students being served in the very best possible way, but also that we are encouraging our staff to stay, feel supported, and really be grounded in those best practices. My own experience, I love pushing myself and doing new things. However, it gets really easy to close my door and stay in my comfortable box. Planning time goes by way too fast all the time, and setting aside time with Molly really forced me to actually give myself the time to try these new things and these experiences that I know are rooted in best practice and literacy research. So when Molly would come, I had dedicated time that I couldn't skip out on. I didn't have extra copies to run because we were there together. And
And she was with me every step of the way, taking off the little things of my plate that usually make a new task feel so overwhelming. I wanted to create a rubric and like a little data tracking sheet for my small groups. And I said to her one time, I was like, this is just, I need to get better at this because then I think I'd be way more successful. And she goes, let me create that for you. So just those things where it made it so much more accessible for me to try a new strategy because she was willing to put in the behind the scenes legwork for me. She was there day in and day out building relationships with my kids. They were excited to see her in the hallway when she would come. And I think sometimes it's easy to think that, oh, do our veteran teachers really need coaches? Yes, we do. We get comfortable in our own way. When we hear about new techniques and strategies, it's easy to be like, oh, sure, I'll try that. And then time gets away from you and it doesn't happen. And so I'm just so excited to have gone through this coaching cycle, even 10 years into my time in Royal Oak, knowing that I have this new strategy of small groups and how I conduct them. As a 5th grade teacher, I did not often work on decoding skills, and I have some students who struggle so much with decoding. And Molly really helped me feel comfortable and encouraged me, like, you can do this, we can work with these kids, and they have grown so much from the start to the end, and it's only 6 weeks in, and I feel confident to do it on my own. Now, Molly, I keep asking her, like, when are you coming back? Are you coming back in? I'd like to hog her all year long, but I feel really confident about this skill that I have attained for myself and moving forward. But aligning with goal 4 also, I really think that, in this academic landscape of teaching, things are constantly changing, things are constantly moving, and when teachers don't feel supported, they know now that they could go to a different district and get their steps. And so I think it's really important that Royal Oak puts an emphasis on making sure that coaches stick around with our new math program in elementary schools, with an upcoming new ELA program in the elementary schools. Teachers that feel supported will stay. They will stay here. And I think that knowing how much is changing in education in the last few years, it is so important that we really dedicate coaches to our teachers so that they do want to stay and they feel supported and confident moving into these new educational landscapes. And not to mention, Molly and Linda are just so relatable. They are always feet on the ground in our buildings. There is never a time when a teacher is like, oh, they're just so out of touch and they don't know what they're doing anymore. They've been out of the classroom for so long. They really, really care about making sure they know and see and hear what's going on from the educators in our district. And so teachers are so excited to work with them. I have not ever heard one person say, yeah, I don't know if it was a great use of my time. So that is I probably missed something, but
you have to leave something for me.
I know. I don't want to steal all the points from Sarah.
I'm regretting following her. And I'm the opposite of Laura. I'm older than her and blind, and mine is in like 30-point font. So, again, I'm Sarah Ross. I'm a 1st grade teacher at Oakland, and I actually am a relatively new teacher. I'm in my 4th year teaching 1st grade. So I signed up to do a coaching cycle with Linda, and because my students are 6 and 7 years old, I do a lot of decoding, figuring out how to put words together. But I had some different problems, and I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to sign up for a coach. I was really interested in what they did, and I knew I wanted to be better. So I was doing small group instruction every day. And I wasn't sure really what to do beyond exactly what I was already doing, if that makes sense. I had sort of a pattern where I would do my DRA, my individual reading assessments, find my students' reading levels, put them in groups, and then teach them. And that was kind of my pattern. I taught them. My gut said they needed something different this year, and I wasn't sure exactly what that was. So I reached out to Linda. I said, I'd like to do a coaching cycle. I'm not sure what they need and exactly what to do. And Linda worked with me. She took my data and looked at it, as they do. She used that sheet she showed you and just looked at it from a fresh approach. She helped me put together strategy groups and a plan. She helped me teach in a new way from a totally different perspective. And we worked together over 6 or 8 weeks. And in that time, my students grew significantly. Actually, every student that we worked with, they came in starting at either below their grade level benchmark or at their grade level, well below their grade level benchmark in the fall. And by the time we did our winter testing, they were either above or well above the grade level benchmarks. There was significant growth. They absolutely soared because we gave them strategic, very targeted instruction. Part of the challenge as a classroom teacher is that we're on islands, right? We shut our doors and we don't know what's happening even right next door. We can talk to the other teachers on our planning time, at our lunches, but then we close our doors and we do what we do. And we don't very often have time to see what they're doing in action. A coach has a totally different perspective. They see a lot of classrooms, and I just see one. A coach has incredibly valuable, totally fresh perspective and a wealth of background knowledge. What did you add up? 59 years between the two of you. Plus the constantly fresh perspective of what you're seeing in all of our classrooms throughout Royal Oak every day. I found Linda's impact on my teaching and on my students to be invaluable. I grew as a teacher, and as a result, my students grew as readers. There's data that says if students aren't reading at grade level by the end of first grade, they will never reach grade level. Statistically, they won't get there. I feel that pressure every night when I go to bed. It's truly something that keeps me awake. And so those are the kids I worry about. How can I get to every one of them? And we got them there together. This is something a coach can do. They can help you reach the kids that you don't know how to reach because they see what we don't all see. We all need more eyes and more perspectives. I also have reached out beyond my literacy coaching cycle during Bridges and many other times said, hey, what can you teach me about this? What do you see here? Fresh perspective is incredibly useful when we're behind our door by ourselves. And at a time, as Laura said, when teachers are feeling alone or overwhelmed or whatever they're feeling, they offer a wealth of knowledge and teachers feel seen and valuable. And I have felt incredibly valued and incredibly supported because of these two. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ladies. You were very kind to us. We'll pay you with chocolate later.
Okay.
This last slide that is up there, as Linda mentioned in our goal 4, after coaching cycles, after we do lab classrooms, we want to hear from our teachers because Linda and I are teachers. We want to keep growing this. We want this to continue to propel and get better and better. And we can't do that without reflection. So these are direct quotes from Royal Oak teachers after they have gone through their coaching cycles, lab classrooms, or some PDs. Some teachers actually just reach out and email us to say thank you and tell us how we've helped support them. So really it boils down to Linda and I are teachers. We have been in Royal Oak for a very long time, and we are in service of our teachers who are in service of our students. So there's nothing better. Thank you.
And they are two very humble women. And I can't echo enough what the teacher said. And just to reinforce the idea that we have 2.5 instructional coaches across 6 elementary schools. They are very, very busy, and they are always in contact, actually in contact with every single teacher across 6 elementaries, whether it be individual coaching, facilitating professional learning through late starts, on voting day, on our November 7th day, and our opening days. So the impact is immense. And I want to thank them both for being here. And I will have to admit, they'll never admit this, but they coach me too, all the time. I know your moves. And I thank them because it's a true collaboration, and I appreciate the experience and everything that they bring to the table every day. So,
Thank you for your time.
Do you have any questions?
I was just curious whether or not, because I can't recall if the district has instructional coaches in the secondary levels at all, and whether or not that's something that, has any evidence-based benefit?
That's a wonderful question. So I do want to take a moment to thank our coaches for all the work they do. This is the second year on the job for them. I know it's difficult to enter a new building and begin to walk into those classrooms and help support those teachers. I also want to thank all the teachers out there, Sarah and Laura, for being here today, and our teachers that are taking part in this, because you do have to take a step back and open up your classroom and be ready for feedback from a non-administrator, and that's really a good approach. So it's thanks to all the teachers that are willing to do that. So our coaches are funded. Our Leo coach was a Literacy Essentials Oakland Schools project is funded through an Oakland Schools grant. And then our other elementary coaches are funded through other grants as well. They do have ending dates coming, and we're kind of working on some of those components of what to kind of move on with. We don't have any instructional coaches at the secondary level. We have been approached by secondary teachers requesting that, and some administrators. And Ann, do you want to talk a little bit about FAME? I know that this is a little bit off topic, but it's kind of connected with, yeah. And Molly's a part of that too.
FAME stands for Formative Assessment for Michigan Educators, and actually Molly and I started as co-coaches last year, and primarily for the secondary teachers were the only teachers that signed up. And actually, do you want to speak to it just briefly about? Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
So as Ann took a new role as the elementary supervisor in instruction, she was really realizing after last year that she couldn't toggle both. It was a little too much. So I stayed on as the coach for, we have about 8 high school teachers going under this formative assessment process. It's a 3-year study where last year we were just looking at what is formative assessment, how can we use it. This year we're actually looking at how does our formative assessment give us student evidence of learning, and how can we track that over time. So we have been reading, we've been kind of doing our own little experiment on, does this formative assessment work here? When might this work? How can I record it? What does this show me? So then that way we're looking at formative assessments, but it's almost from the student eyes, like, it's our street data. Next year we'll dig in even more as to how that propels. So, and then we have members on that formative assessment team from the high school who kind of keep that together. Since I'm at all 6 elementaries right now, I can't dig into each of their classrooms. Some of them have been open and willing, for me to do that, and I've been willing to go up there and help them if, they need a partner, a talking partner, a brainstorming partner. But, our 125 teachers keep us pretty busy, so. But yes, they are doing the work, and they're, even having these conversations cross grade level, elementary to high school. They're ready.
I just want to say that it's just remarkable that you're seeing such growth in the amount of people who are seeking out these coaching cycles. I think it speaks to the value that our teachers see in the work that you're doing. And I just want to thank you for supporting our educators and, and through that, just making our education of our students that much better. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just a real quick thing. Miss Alexander took my question, so. But just so kind of an aside comment, and to echo what Trustee Cook said, like we take our responsibility on this side of the table very, very seriously, that we know every single time that we approve a new program, ask for a new thing, decide on a new direction, whether it's state mandate or something that we know is going to be good for students, right? We know what that's asking of teachers, and we know that there are really hard choices to make. And so, not to patronize, but like I think I speak for all of us that we do take that responsibility really seriously. And this is such a perfect way to know that we are also creating the supports, though, to balance what it is we're asking of teachers. And so we're really proud of that. And I think you're absolutely right in tying it in. One thing I did want to mention, though, was that Trustee Anderson and I had a really great opportunity last week to attend an Oakland County School Board Association meeting in which they highlighted the LEO program, that we got a really great presentation about what that looks like at the county level. And so I do just want to remind everybody and make people aware and again, to kind of add on to this retention idea, we're one of only 19 schools in the whole county that has this partnership and is able to offer this program and wealth of resources through Leo. And I think that that's just another great thing for us to be able to say that we're, seeking out these things, and the way that our teachers were able to frame this, that it is so easy to think of this as one additional thing instead of an opportunity. And I'm just very, very proud of us being able to offer this and just how open-minded it makes us. So it's great. Thank you.
Thank you all. I definitely, just hearing about this program and, hearing our instructional coaches speaking and hearing the results from the teachers and their exuberance again, I think speaks volumes as well. And I think, seasoned teacher, new teacher, everybody can benefit from coaching. I think we always have to be self-reflective in everything we do. It's really important. And so I'm grateful that we have this program. And I was sitting here thinking, do we need more instructional coaches, is what I was thinking in the back of my mind. And my other question, which I raise all the time, is if it's grant funded, this is something that we obviously want to continue and grow, which it sounds like. So, so that's a question for this side of the table. But thank you very much for coming here. And I know I truly appreciate, and all your years of experience as teachers as well, and then moving into these coaches is just a fabulous, fabulous thing, and such a great opportunity for our students and our staff. So thank you. Item 6.3, diversity, equity, inclusion, Ashley Phillips.
Good evening. We have lots of updates. It's been a short time since we've seen each other, but we've been very busy. And I've included lots of pictures as well. Oh, it's not connecting in? Yeah, sure. I've included lots of pictures as well. Okay, there we go. To take you all along the journey, so you'll feel like you were at each event. So we'll first start off with our African American Read In event update, then our Oakland Schools March 6 PD, our Read and Rocks tour, and Keller's International Festival, which is happening in April, but just want to give you a heads up because it'll be the day after our next board meeting, and then MDE news update. So first, starting off with our African American Read-In, which was hosted by our wonderful watch host and mastermind of logistics, Ann and Jovu. And we had as well Linda Burton on our team, so I'm glad to see that everyone's here. The event turned out amazing. We had a few families come out because we were competing with different events throughout the whole district. We had some talent show rehearsals and everything that was going on at the same time. But the families that came, we were able to bond and meet with them and talk with them. And you'll see a few familiar faces from us as well. So a lot of our students that were there were able to read along with the book and read along with our author, Dante, and to draw along with his draw-along pictures for showing us how he draws some of the characters. So he zoomed into 6 different districts, with Royal Oak Schools being one of them. We got to hear some of the book. And as we go towards creating more inclusive events. We thought about the timing and said, you know, to make this easier for our families to come out at 7 p.m., let's make sure that we have food and snacks for them so they won't have to worry about dinner. Well, I'll tell you, they did not have to worry about dinner or lunch, so and lunch for the next day. So thank you again to our awesome Mike Jacobs, for our food service director, for Chartwell's. Mary Beth is probably laughing because she'll tell you that whole night I just dazzled over the beautiful spread that he put together for us. It was so nice and very accommodating, so thank you again. Then moving on to our inclusive classroom PD. Here we have featured Cornelius Godfrey, our newer diversity and equity consultant for Oakland schools. He put on the inclusive classroom strategies, principles, and practices for teaching and learning. And this was on March 6th at Oakland schools. Royal Oak Schools was the district with the most representation there. So I was so excited that we got to take people from teachers, admin, and leaders throughout the district. We had just 2 schools that weren't represented because they had scheduling conflicts, but we also had some of our special ed leaders that joined us as well. So we talked about strategies for building an inclusive classroom, diving deeper into the academic mindset, even diving deeper into our own growth that we've had since our childhood and our different experiences that we had throughout our schooling as well. The impact of microaggressions and really looking into impact and versus the intent of different comments. Student identity and building and maintaining relationships and building positive classroom culture. So we were so excited for that event. And even though it was a full day PD, we could have gone for 2 days. There was so much information shared and so many things that we learned. Moving on to our Reading Rocks tour. This started as just me reaching out, wanting to definitely go over to our early childhood center and read to the students there and bond with some of the classrooms. And I reached out to Mary Beth and asked her if she usually goes to read. And lots of teachers asked her each year to come into the buildings to read. And she said, you know, we can open this up. I wanted to open it up to our board office staff because I know they're typically not in the classrooms as much. And she said, let's invite the board as well. So thank you again, Mary Beth. This idea just blew up to the most amazing idea. So this also formed a partnership with us and Royal Oak Public Library. We had bookmarks, but they also provided us a lot of bookmarks that they donated to us that also promotes the library and some of the team programming for the ROMs and high school students as well. So really, really excited. This is day 4 of the tour. It spans throughout March 11th through March 22nd, where the board office staff and school board members go into different classrooms throughout the district and read to the students. Before leaving, they give them these bookmarks here as a donation and just a little trinket to remember. Now, here we are at day 4, and we've already visited about 8 classrooms so far. Next week is very packed, so we'll have many more classrooms that are visited. But here's just a few pictures from some of our visits. And I started off at the ECC. I was able to read to them a few of the classes there. The book, I Know a Shy Fellow Who Swallowed a Cello. Now, the great thing was when I dived deeper into the resources and book lists to try to bring everything together for this event to celebrate National Reading Month, I saw that the Reading Across America, their March 2024 theme is celebrating diversity. So I wanted to bring in different things that are celebrated throughout the month. So a lot of the volunteers that are reading are going in and reading different diverse texts, and I included some of our music in our schools month as well. So you'll see that the students not only got to read about the cello and hear about the cello, but they also got to try it out. And I think we'll have a video, if we can get the sound here. Can you do the next string? Look. I'll replay it so you look. Good. The next string. Look. The first string. Pretend you're plucking with her too. Pluck, pluck, pluck. Good. Can you do the next string? Pluck, pluck, pluck. Good. The next string. Pluck, pluck, pluck. And the last string. Give her a round of applause. So that was really fun as well. And we're moving on to Keller Elementary's IFFF event. So it's their International Food and Fun Food and Fun Festival, and they're also running their silent auction at the same time. I was able to meet with part of their PTA who's planning a lot of the event with some of the DEI team there. And here are just a few of the things that we shouted out. It's free admission, food, there will be food trucks there, craft stations, international bingo, entertainment where they'll have some live dancers and some interactive activities there. Travel the World activities, a sensory room, again, as we are looking into our inclusive events. Paper dolls made from our kindergarten students there will be on display. There'll be a student art display for the 1st through 5th graders there, and of course, there are volunteers needed. So very soon, there'll be a sign-up. Jeannie has sent out from Keller, and you can find it on their Keller PTA page because they need lots of volunteers to make this awesome event take place. It takes place throughout their entire school, so we're really excited about that. It is taking place on Friday, again, Friday, April 12th. The doors open at 6:15, and the event runs until 8:45 p.m. And you see here where Declan, in I believe 5th grade, has made his Argentina project, I believe for the last event. So we're really excited that this brings families together as well because they work on the projects at home with the students. And last but not least, our MDE news update. So for our last meeting, you saw all of these names here, and I told you that there may be some more winners that were chosen. So Royal Oak again is at the top with the most educators that were selected to be featured for the MDE News's Black History Month calendar. So I brought today, Jody Berger is her, and Vicki Kasparek, who were chosen for their lesson that they teach at Oakland. Unfortunately, Vicki could not be here today. She does not feel well, but Jody is here to talk a little bit about their lesson.
Hello. So I feel like a new teacher. I'm a retired English teacher, but because of the shortage in special ed educators, I am working on just starting an endorsement in ASD. And I was fortunate enough to be hired at Oakland Elementary. And Vicki Kasparek, an old friend of mine, 20 years, we've known each other at least, she's an expert veteran ASD teacher. So while I'm a new teacher, I have the most amazing person to guide me and collaborate with. So I wish she was here. But I was thrilled to do this. This has always been a passion of mine, Master's in Global Humanities. After I graduated with an English degree, I did extensive work in African American literature to help me be a better English teacher. So this is something that we believe all year, but luckily during the month of February we get a lot more spotlight put on what should be everywhere all the time. So Vicki said, hey, why don't we look for somebody local? And digging around, she found, thank you, in Royal Oak. And there was plenty of articles, even Our magazine, that hence the glossy, beautiful picture of this young woman. I'll tell you about in a minute. We found that there's this park being dedicated right by Planet Fitness, Crooks, and Webster, in honor of pioneers, the first, well, that they know of anyway, the first Black couple in the 1800s settling, and they had a farm, very successful farm, and lived in fact, this young woman you see in the picture, she is the great-great-granddaughter of the Hamers, and she lives in Royal Oak to this day. So we love the Royal Oak connection, and we teach self-contained ASD students. So everyone, young and old, right, including our little ones in the self-contained classrooms, will benefit from the truthful representation of people that we don't see enough of. As an educator for the past 30 years or more, don't see enough represented accurately and celebrated in our curriculum. And so we were thrilled to have the local connection with the Hamers. And the students, thank you, put together collages after doing some reading at their level. And we included extensions for general ed students in the curriculum, by the way. So anyone, any elementary teacher, and probably more, they should check this out because they will learn something about Royal Oak and about Black history. Is that it? Okay. And so the students are lovely, and they did their best, and hopefully went home and shared that with their parents. I know that we put all the papers with them. Take it home. And even the nonverbal ones they'll be thrilled that their parents can see what they did. So thank you.
Thank you again, Jody. And I just want to say a special thank you to our communication specialist, Amy Murphy. She was able to reach out to the Daily Tribune for Royal Oak and send out the article that all of these lovely teachers have been acknowledged by the Michigan Department of Education that Royal Oak schools had the most educators who were selected for this project. So all of the teachers that you've seen featured for this and for the update as well were featured in the March 6th edition for the Daily Tribune. So thank you again, Amy. And that's all for us. Any questions?
Mrs. Haynes? Not a question, but thank you so much for your presentation. What's nice is the young lady, that's Lakeisha Morrison, and she's friends with several of us. She lives in my neighborhood, and it's so nice. She is so proud of her family and has done so much, and she does have the presentation that she does at the City Hall, and she was one of the people who led our Black Lives Matter marches and gatherings during COVID. So she's a fantastic representation of what's great about Royal Oak. And I'm sure all of her relatives here and those looking from above are so proud of her. So thank you so much and love your presentations.
Thank you.
Mrs. Sinsky.
I know the obvious answer is that Royal Oak has the best teachers, but what, how did we get so much representation on this calendar? Was this something that we've done before, or was this something that you found for us, or like?
So the MDE reached out to, I believe they first sent it to Jennifer Nipper and she forwarded it along to me. And I reached out to all the principals and just said, I know it's very busy. There's an abbreviated window. So if the teachers that would like to participate in this, because they did have to say whether they opt in or out of their information being shared publicly, because it's on a website where not only just Michigan, the state of Michigan educators can reach it, but nationally and internationally could opt in. And then I said, to make this a little easier for the teachers for access, if they could send me the lesson and then just a few things that I can pull from it, I can submit surveys on their behalf. So we submitted 10 submissions, and then I'm not sure compared to any other district that as far as the numbers that went out for their group, maybe that we were the ones that submitted the most, but I'm pretty sure they got a lot that came in, but I just think ours were at the top. So I'm so proud of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool.
Thank you.
Mr. Jaworski.
I think it's also important to realize that we are attracting and bringing in these wonderful teachers into our district. I know for a fact that Ms. Kasparik is a brand new teacher to the district starting this year, and Ms. Berger, it sounds like you are brand new as well. Thank you so much for bringing your knowledge and your dedication to Royal Oak.
Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you. So, Ms. Phillips, I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you're also working on an upcoming project for a special week at ROMS, where they're going to do some units and lessons and activities across the whole school. So if you could just mention that, I would appreciate it.
So the Inclusion Week, and we have not met to plan out everything yet, but I've just seen an overview of the different things that they're going to do during April, and it's also Autism Awareness Month. So I'm meeting with Christian Meldrum there to plan out some different things that we can do, and they're also adding a literacy component where she's reaching out for different things for the books that they'll use to kind of incorporate during that one. So we'll have our reading month kind of tying in with autism awareness as well.
Thank you. And I also know that ROMS, for several years, I believe now, they've engaged in the You Matter project, which focuses on student individuality and also student well-being. And I know in working with Ms. Ashburn that through a foundation grant from our Royal Oak Schools Foundation, that is being extended and replicated at the high school as well, along with when they take breaks from tests and homework on certain weekends. And the You Matter project is just another extension of that work up to our high school. So I'm appreciative of that, and I thank you for, I know I just read the email about the Inclusion Week, so I'm sure we'll hear more about it.
April is going to be busy and amazing, just like March.
Right. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I always enjoy your presentations, and I love seeing love watching the children play with the strings too. But just, your integration in the schools, that you're always in the classrooms, you're with the students, I think that's really speaks volumes as well. And I think our students and our staff appreciate that a lot. I know I do, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Moving on to item 6.4, student representatives to the board, Alex and Matthew.
Good evening. So at the last board meeting, it was brought to my attention that the safety committee was looking for some kind of student input on their activities and policy and stuff of that nature. And it was an interesting thing to find a way to do student input because there is some information that students aren't privy to. So myself and administration at the high school came to a conclusion that we'll utilize the Student Representative Council, which is a group of students representing grades 9 through 12. The group partners with administration to provide different perspectives on issues of policy and practice. And they act as an advisory board to help the student body take action. So they are going to work with building administration to give feedback and any kind of input on safety procedures and stuff of that nature, and then the administration there will take the information and bring it to the board that students would not be privy to.
Well, hello everyone. Even though it seems maybe that March has just begun, it's certainly been a busy month in the arts. I mean, we had in the first couple of days of March, Freaky Friday put on by the high school, and I appreciate all the school board representation and Ms. Fitzpatrick and everybody for coming out and seeing that. We also had the following week the middle school's production of Alice at Wonderland, and then we're starting work on the next play that we're going to be doing. So it's certainly been a busy month there. We've also had the MSBOA events for band and orchestra, and then MSBOA Jazz, I think, is coming up in early April. So it's certainly been a busy month for the arts as well on top of everything. So thank you guys for coming out and seeing it. I'd also like to highlight to parents of incoming 9th graders the April 2nd open house at the high school. That's also the personal project showcase, which are being graded today, Thursday. But it's a great way for you to sort of see all the clubs and activities and programs that are put on by our high school and ask questions, get used to the layout of the building. So I'd really encourage, if you have an upcoming 9th grader, go see that. Or even if you have an upcoming 10th grader, encourage them to go and check out all the wonderful work that students have been doing on the personal project and have them ask questions and sort of see how they will be putting those skills into practice in their upcoming year. So yeah, keep an eye out in April and the rest of March, because there's certainly tons of things to be done.
Thank you both. Any questions for our students? Ms. Usinski.
I'm just curious. Yeah, wow, we're loud now. Alexander and Matthew, what were your personal projects?
So
sorry, Alex, you have to think.
composed a couple pieces that were meant to be played by a cellist at the sort of middle school level, and I worked with Mr. Alvin Rose, our middle school and high school orchestra teacher, to compose those over a series of a couple months and then hopefully eventually get them passed out. It turned out that I did not have the timeline right to get them passed out and played in class, but I wrote about that in my project and sort of explained, you know, I got the part of the process that was completing it right, but the distribution fell out of my timeline. So that's an important learning opportunity for somebody. If you're delivering on a product, you have to think about not just making it, but delivering it. So I think that sort of thing is what the personal project's all about. Analyzing what do you want to do, what did you do, and then how could you make it better? And that hits on all sorts of IB values like being reflective and communication. And I think it's really the essence of the MYP program, and it comes all to a conclusion in that 10th grade project.
Yeah, I was able to recall. It was filming high school football. A former coach was my advisory teacher at that point. He recommended I do that. So I recorded football for a few weeks of the season and then wrote a manual on how to do it effectively.
Thank you both. I definitely do encourage and second your thoughts on if you have incoming students. It's an opportunity to be in the school. It's an opportunity, to see the clubs, before you are ever at the high school. But just to familiarize yourself with the building and to talk to other students, because sometimes students would rather talk to other students than us. So, and I think that's really a great opportunity. So thank you both. Item number 7, communications. Mrs. Anderson?
We have received no communication since our last meeting.
Well, that was quick. Item number 8, consent agenda. At this point, we have item 8.1, payment of expenses, 8.2, field trips. Field trip to, potential field trip for Royal Oak High School robotics students. Do we have any additions or deletions? Seeing none, a consent agenda passes by consensus. Item number 9, matters for discussion action, 9.1, Superintendent, Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Well, thank you very much. Point of business, item 9.1.1 is the second reading of revised and replaced or recommended policies and guidelines. As we've mentioned before, there is a committee of board members that I meet with to review our policies from our advisor, from Neola, who often gives us suggestions and/or things that need to be changed due to changes in the law. Those are then put up for consideration by our committee and then brought back to the board as a whole. So tonight represents the second reading of the latest revisions. And also just to share with the board that we've also received a new spring release from Neola, and so we'll be reaching out to our advisor to schedule a meeting first with me to better understand what's being recommended. Then our committee comes back out again, and we'll be bringing more policies to you in the near future. So for tonight, a recommendation for the second reading of those as listed.
Thank you. Can I have a recommendation? Ms. Usinski?
Resolved, I don't have to read the numbers, right? Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the second reading of the policies and administrative guidelines being revised, replaced, and/or recommended as presented in the board packet.
Thank you. Can we have a second, please? Mrs. Haynes, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, as our students so eloquently talked about, the involvement by our students is something that we want them to be more active in their own learning, and that feedback that you're providing through our safety committee, our lunches, which I think another student lunch with the members of the board and myself is coming up again next week. So for our students who have not yet signed up, please sign up, come out, have lunch with us, and chat with some board members. So that is also coming up. The functions by the charities and foundations and nonprofits in our community is something that's absolutely essential to our district and to the students' success. And so we appreciate all of that. So I would encourage anyone out there who is not following the e-news of our school district to please subscribe. You can find that link on our website. And then through our communications department, we talk about all of those opportunities upcoming. So it's trivia season, it is banquet season, it is auction season. And so we just encourage all of the Royal Oak community to come out and support these very valuable organizations moving forward. And also on Saturday, the Royal Oak St. Patrick's Day Parade is back. There will be a very anticipated float on a golf cart for Royal Oak schools that I'll be driving, as well as several of our schools that will be in the parade. We're hoping for very good weather and just another celebration of our fine city and the month of March. So hope to see you all out there.
Didn't know we upgraded to a float for the golf cart. Does anybody have any questions? I'm not sure if it's yourself or Mr. Walensky, just an update on the high school principal search? Okay, never mind. Okay, thank you very much. Item 9.2, curriculum and instruction, Dr. Ioannis.
Thank you, Mrs. Van Heitzma. I wanted to talk a little bit about our monthly Insight into Curriculum video series. This month, we will focus on Beyond the Bell. This was a program created by Jennifer Nipper, our supervisor of continuous improvement. The goal of it essentially was to capture some learning loss, so we had some grant money that we could put towards creating opportunities for students to engage in after-school opportunities. So some of the things we'll hear about, which we've talked about before, is the K-12 tutoring online programs, some science, Cranbrook science opportunities for our elementary students and high school students that had a chance to do some internships with Cranbrook as well. So.
Beyond the Bell is the name of kind of the big umbrella of our after-school programming. Under Beyond the Bell, we have several different after-school programs that we have provided for our students this year. So far, we have provided opportunities such as K-12 Connect, which is a virtual math tutoring program. We have also provided our students with some hands-on exploring science activities with Cranbrook Institute of Science. We also had a really special opportunity for our high school students. They were able to be a part of the Cranbrook Institute of Science as an intern in a 4-week program, which was a really neat opportunity for them. We also have had opportunities such as Pretty Brown Girls, and coming up soon, we have the zoo coming out for some animal exploration opportunities for our students. We have a partnership with the Cranbrook Institute of Science where they send out their scientists from the Institute to our students and to our schools for after-school programming. In these programs, students are working with the scientists to learn about different topics and have some fun with some hands-on experiences.
The K-12 Connect tutoring program is an online program that is offered through Royal Oak Schools. I currently have students that range from 1st grade to 5th grade that meet in the Media Center twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, and it's funded or ran through Grand Valley University, but amazingly, each of these tutors are actually from all over the world. We have a tutor that is an English teacher in Barcelona, Spain, but is meeting every Tuesday and Thursday with a 2nd grader. The students take a diagnostic test, which places them at their math level, and then they work through different math lessons. The program is amazing because the students are definitely very engaged, and they're really making advancements through their work.
The Pretty Brown Girl program is a program designed also to be a movement to positively impact and promote and empower Black and brown girls. The value of joining Pretty Brown Girl is to make sure that we have Black and brown girls in our community, in our school, that have a voice to be empowered, to engage, and also to educate them. We do spend a lot of time on things like self-care, goal setting, friendships, building relationships, and being able to be the best that you could possibly be. Students can join Pretty Brown Girl by signing up at the beginning of the year with one of our co-facilitators. I am currently a co-facilitator, as well as Clarissa Caesar, a social worker at Royal Oak High School, and Alyssa Reed, who's also a social worker at Royal Oak Middle School. We have both programs at both schools serving girls in grades 6 through 12.
Keep a lookout for more opportunities coming this year, over the summer, and in the fall.
A couple more, I want to circle back on a couple of things that Ms. Phillips mentioned earlier. Thank you again to Ms. Phillips for leading that initiative with our Michigan Department of Education. I do think it's phenomenal that MDE has recognized Royal Oak Schools as a leader in promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in all that we do. one of the most important things, not just the fact that we had so many teacher submissions. When I looked at some of the submissions and spoke with Ms. Phillips, one of the real takeaways I got is that our teachers have a true understanding of the importance of incorporating Black history into our teaching because it's a part of our American history. That's the key. And the calendar that Ms. Phillips talked about is phenomenal, and it's a resource that can be used throughout the year. So I think it's huge that our teachers understand that importance of Black history being part of our American history. So I want to commend you for leading that, Ms. Phillips. March's Reading Month is always a phenomenally fun and exciting time, and it was good to have an opportunity to quickly sign up. I did last night. Did you notice that? I signed up for 3 really quick, and then last night, because I didn't get a chance to before they filled up quick. So it's nice that we'll have an opportunity to be in the buildings and see some of the wonderful themes that are all focused around reading, which is a wonderful thing. During the week of February 26th to March 1st, we had our diploma program, our IBDP evaluation visit, led by Leah Barnett, our DP coordinator. I want to thank her for all the work that she did to help us get prepared for the visit, and some of you were a part of that. We had students, administrators, board members a part of that, and we got a chance to hear some feedback from the evaluators regarding some of the work that we're doing. And as always with all of our IB evaluation meetings, we'll get a report that we can review into more detail and begin to kind of work on some of the areas that we can improve in. So excited about that opportunity and looking forward to learning and getting more feedback from the evaluators. Last thing, which is an important program, our Jumpstart program at the elementary level. I got a chance to visit that for the first time this year, to see it in a building not at Adams Elementary, but to see those 5th graders be excited to learn more about the instrumental options that they have at the middle school. For those of you not familiar, our middle school's instrumental staff, and led by Ms. Mary Johnson, who is the coordinator of K-12 Fine Arts, comes down to the elementary level and provides 5th grade students with a chance to learn about and explore and use instruments that they could have the opportunity to begin to work with in 6th grade. So those have all taken place, and the excitement was good to see kids kind of engaged. When I visited Northwood, it was nice to be able to visit it, not as a principal, because when you're a principal and you're in that setting, you're making sure the kids are behaving, following the rules, and not damaging the instruments. So you're more like a teacher watching over all the kids. But being an outsider, I really got a chance for the first time to see the kids' excitement around using some of those instruments. I used to just be concerned about what might happen in those visits as a principal, but now, I'm able to enjoy it more. So that's all I have for my updates.
Any questions for Dr. Ioannis? I did have one question. What is the time frame for the after Beyond the Bell program? When is the last slot for that program?
Oh, for one of the sessions specifically, or?
Yeah, I just didn't know. It goes through close to the end of the year?
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
my
yeah.
general
I think it's we're going to go closer to mid-May, I believe. Some of the programs will run around that, and then we are looking at opportunities to maybe continue to add to our summer programming. We still have some grant money that we're kind of trying to work with, so we might have some extension opportunities that'll flow into the summer. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 9.3, Finance and Facilities, Ms. Isabella.
Good evening. I have 3 things on tonight's agenda for your approval. The first is 9.3.1, which is the 2023-24 General Fund Budget Amendment Number 2. Just as a reminder, the column far to the left is the audited 22-23 numbers. The 23-24 original budget is there, and that was approved in June of 23. The 23-24 Budget Amendment Number 1 was approved in December of 23, and then here we are in March with Budget Amendment Number 2. We will also do a third budget amendment to this in June, along with the original budgets for the 24-25 school year. So we have reduced the operating deficit by $844,000. I did tell you when we discussed this in very, very much detail last week at Finance and Facilities that things would change slightly, and they did. And wouldn't you know, even after I posted this to board books, another grant came through this week. So we are missing the updated robotics grant, but we did get approved. I believe it was for $21,000, and I don't remember what the request was, but it's never the same. I think the way they spread that grant across the state. So anyhow, always changing. It seems like there's something new coming through each week. So revenues were increased by just over $5.1 million. State aid is always reconciled with each amendment. There were an additional 71.78 FTEs added with the updated student count, so that is $731,000. There's also an additional 8.47 special ed FTE, and if you remember, 2 years ago, the funding for special ed changed. We received 75% of an FTE or a foundation allowance for each special ed FTE. This year, that was changed to 100% per special ed FTE. So that was a big change to the funding of special education. And so that additional 8.47 is another $81,000 in our budget. Additional grants were reconciled, and like I said, I'm just highlighting a couple because we have quite a few that have come through, but the special ed cost report was certified, and until it's certified, I don't include it in the budget. It increased our state aid by $615,000, but it's not just this year $615,000 because we receive an estimate in this year. It's also reconciling last year, so we received that as a reconciliation to the prior year state aid. So we actually received $1.2 million. Federal revenues were also reconciled, the ones that were completed, submitted, and accepted. One of the ones that was most noted was our 27B, which is the Grow Your Own program, GYO, Grow Your Own. It's $1.5 million. I'm not sure how many teachers and paraprofessionals we have involved in that program, but it's quite a few. All the incoming transfers and other transactions were not impacted with this amendment. The expenditures were increased by $4.3 million. So always salaries and benefits are continuously reconciled because Mr. Walensky always points out how many staff we've had change in the last year because they are changing throughout the year. We have people that go off on leaves. So each time this reconciles the actual and our remaining salaries and benefits for that matter for the remainder of the year. Contracted services were reconciled to reflect all the additional grant awards, and you saw some of those programs highlighted in that video from Mrs. Nipper. So all of those items get added into the grant awards as well. Outgoing transfers was increased by the Community Service Fund of $393,000. You approved that last month, that Community Service Fund. So that has now included also in the general fund. Are there any questions before you approve this budget amendment?
Ms. Usinski.
I know it's really early on in the state budgeting process. Do we have any reason to believe that 100% FTE for the special ed students might change this year or like this coming budget?
I have not seen any changes to that particular funding.
That's good news.
That is very good news.
Thank you. Can we have a recommendation, please? Mrs. Alexander.
Be it resolved that the 2023-24 General Budget Fund Amendment Number 2 be amended as presented in the board packet.
Can we have a second? Mrs. Cook.
9.3.2 on tonight's agenda. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we have a
I got
roll
a little
call,
too
please?
fast. Sorry.
I'll just do a quick roll call. Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yep.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Now we are all set.
Mr. Walensky turned me off. He was afraid I was going to do it again. 4.3.2 on tonight's agenda is the Food Service Management Contract Award. Every 5 years, we have to go out for a full RFP for our food service management company. It is part of federal guidelines through the free and reduced lunch program. There are very specific guidelines, and we use Jeremy Motes from Clark Hill to assist us in that process. We had 5 food service companies request the RFP. 4 come to our mandatory pre-bid meeting, 2 bid, and tonight with us is our 2 representatives from Chartwells. Ann Smith is the area director for us for Chartwells, and Mike Jacobs is our fabulous food service director that you hear about so often. And I am very happy to present to you Chartwells for the contract award for food service. Are there any questions?
Mrs. Haynes?
Not a question, but I am so glad that we renewed it because working with Mike has been a dream. So that's all.
Mr. Jaworski?
All right, I'll say if this vote were to come before me 2 years ago, it would have been an absolute no, based on the feedback from the students and the community. But Mr. Jacobs and Ms. Smith, in the last 2 years, you've really righted the ship. You've shown us what you can do, and I have no problem. I'm actually excited to continue your service to our district.
And for the public, we did discuss this last week at our Finance and Facilities meeting, so it's always helpful to have those conversations. And I know I, too, am excited just having conversations with Mr. Jacobs in some of our committee meetings, just his responsiveness to students and his responsiveness to families, and his amazing staff that do a lot this year, which I think I'm very appreciative of, because they always do a fabulous job, and thank you very much. Can we have a recommendation? Oh, Mrs. Cook? Oh, yes, go ahead.
Resolved that the Royal Oak School Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to finalize and sign a food service management contract with Chartwells. The contract is a one-year contract with 4 optional one-year renewals.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Haynes, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Haynes.
Absolutely.
Trustee Jasinski.
Yes.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander.
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski.
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
And the final item I have for you this evening is 9.3.3, which is an Oakland envelope contract award. This is for work at Oakland Elementary. It's the outside work, the mortar, the tuck pointing, lots of work to go on the outside of our almost 100-year-old building. So very excited to also give this to you for your approval. All of this was spoken by our owners' representatives, Michelle Kearns and Mark Paulus, last week at our Finance and Facilities meeting.
Thank you. Any questions? Do we have a recommendation? Ms. Usinski?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to finalize and sign a contract with JMD Building Restoration, LLC, in the amount of $587,525, which includes alternates 1 through 6 for the facade repairs at Oakland Elementary. Additionally, a 15% contingency to address any unforeseen conditions.
Thank you. Can I have a second? Mrs. Haynes? Can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Jasinski.
Yes.
Trustee Cook.
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander.
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski.
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma.
Yes.
Trustee Haynes.
Yes.
And this motion passes.
Mrs. Fitzpatrick?
Thank you for your support for all of these proposals put before you this evening, but I do want to mention that the last one regarding Oakland Elementary just speaks to this district's commitment and the support of the Board of Education to the facilities of our fine district, and to also highlight that Oakland Elementary is 100 years old. And so in the fall, and we will be celebrating with a community-wide event. I know there's a very large committee getting together for those events, but I just wanted to recognize that. We've talked a lot about our education this evening, which makes me so proud of the achievements of our students and the curriculum and all of the great things going on with our staff, and then to commend the board on their support of also making sure that our schools are preserved for the future. So thank you for that support.
Thank you. Oh, Mrs. Anderson?
So this is my usual question. Where are we in the state budgeting process?
So nothing's really changed since last month, which is not unusual. The governor's budget usually comes out in February, and then it's kind of quiet for a little bit. And I even looked right before the meeting this evening to see if MSBO has posted anything. MSBO is my professional organization. Prior to the meeting, I just checked to look. The only thing they've done is taken the governor's budget recommendation and kind of put numbers to each district so you have an idea of what that change might be. So we have looked at some of those numbers as we talk about moving forward into next year. But I would expect, usually what we see is somewhere around spring break at best is where you first see maybe the Senate and the House come out. But I haven't heard any rumblings yet. It kind of really heats up through April. But that May revenue consensus, estimated consensus hearing, which I believe is the second Friday in May, is where they really get to work on that. So we're kind of in that lull right now.
Thank you. Item number 9.4, Staff and Student Services, Mr. Walensky.
Thank you, Mrs. Van Heitzma. I have two topics to update you on, and 2 items on tonight's agenda for your approval. The 2 updates are on enrollment. I'll talk a little bit about that, and the second being the search for a new Royal Oak High School principal. Enrollment, as I think you know, began February 1st, so it's been very busy, I'm glad to say. We have processed 283 children. I said we. Gina Harwood, our enrollment coordinator, has processed 283 enrollments in that 6-week window already. So she's been very busy. And 63 enrolled for developmental kindergarten. So, I'm sorry, 283 for kindergarten, 63 for developmental kindergarten. And this past fall, we had 366 enrolled and 87 for DK, just to give you a perspective on where we are. It's been a lot. She's been very busy, so that's good news. The window for submitting elementary transfer requests was February 1st through February 29th. We received 45 requests for transfer, and we've already approved 18 of those. We look at those and we determine the reason for the request, if there's a sibling in another building, whatever it is, space available, et cetera. So we've approved 18 of those 45 already. We'll continue to look at those. And the window for submitting schools of choice enrollment application for grades K through 8 opened March 1st. That's still open. It's going to remain open through March 29th. And as of today, we've received 120 applications. And that's, just as a reminder, in grades kindergarten, DK and kindergarten through 8th grade. You approved 230 seats, and so far we've enrolled we've received 120 applications. So that's just an enrollment update. The Royal Oak High School principal search update. I see Miss Ashburn is here. She has shared that she does not plan to come back next year, so we're gonna start the process of seeking. We have started the process of seeking a new principal for Royal Oak High School. The position was posted February 23rd through 5 o'clock on Sunday. And we've been scouring over applicants. We've selected people that we're going to interview. The first round of interviews will be next Wednesday, March 20th. And then the second round will be Tuesday, April 2nd. We plan to narrow that down to 2 or 3 finalists for a third round on April 5th. And at our next board meeting, hopefully, I bring to you a recommendation of the committee for the next principal of Royal Oak High School. And that the panel's fairly large. We're going to have a panel A, panel B. We're going to have 2 different committees that interview each candidate on the same day. So we have, I think, 11 teachers, 9 administrators. We will have 2 parents and 2 students at least on the panel. And then I also have, so that's an update on that. I also have 2 items for your approval. Item 9.4.1 is the list of personnel changes. And I'll just go through that briefly. It's not long, but it's going to continue to get longer and longer as we go into spring and summer. 4 retirement notifications, which is a little bit early. Janet Norling, who I worked with at Churchill for many years. Janet is the career development facilitator for Royal Oak High School, and she's been employed since, what is it? That doesn't seem right, but I think it is, August of 1990. Sarah Barbas, paraprofessional for the Trails, employed since September of 2019. Kip Garwood-Till, paraprofessional at Northwood Elementary, employed since April of 2017. And Susan Blomberg, teacher at the Adams Early Childhood, employed since April of 1998. Also on the report is 1 resignation from a paraprofessional, Sue Casbar at Adams Elementary, and 3 new hire recommendations. 2 of them being paraprofessionals, which is good. Desiree Emmy for Adams ECC, Maria Bello, paraprofessional for Oak Ridge Elementary. And Judy Drapesky, we list her as a rehire because she retired last year. We rehired her to be a part-time substitute teacher when needed. So that's item 9.4.1 for your approval.
Do we have any questions? Can I have a recommendation? Mrs. Anderson?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the regular personnel changes as presented.
Can I have a second, please? Mrs. Cook, can we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. The other item on tonight's agenda for your approval, consideration and approval is item 9.4.2. This is something I presented and we discussed a bit at the Facilities and Finance Committee meeting. It is a letter of understanding with the Royal Oak Education Association to increase the stipend amount paid for the Royal Oak Middle School athletic chairperson position. It is a Schedule B stipend. This was proposed by the ROEA, and the middle school administration and athletic director agreed that an increase as presented was warranted due to the number of kids, the increased number of kids at the middle school level participating in after-school activities and events, which has been a good thing, and the addition of some additional athletic teams at the middle school. So just to kind of keep in line with the amount of work involved in that position. And because the stipend amount is listed in our collective bargaining agreement, we're okay with increasing it. But because it's part of a collective bargaining agreement, it requires a letter of understanding to increase it.
Any questions? We discussed this at Finance and Facilities last week as well. Can I have a recommendation? Mrs. Alexander?
Resolved that the Royal Oak Schools Board of Education approves the letter of understanding regarding the Royal ROEA Middle School Athletics Chairperson pay scale as presented.
Can I have a second? Mr. Jaworski, can we have a roll call, please?
I'll vote yes. Trustee Alexander?
Yes.
Trustee Jaworski?
Yes.
Trustee Van Heitzma?
Yes.
Trustee Haynes?
Yes.
Trustee Jasinski?
Yes.
Trustee Cook?
Yes.
And this motion passes as well.
Thank you. You good?
That's all I have.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Item number 10, public comment. This is the opportunity for a second public comment. Same rules apply as the first time. Any public comment? No. Okay, thank you. Moving on, item 11, board comments and committee reports. This is actually new, a new agenda item that we've added. As part of our duties, the Board of Education members serve on standing committees in collaboration with district staff, leaders, and community members to address specific topics. These committees provide an opportunity to thoroughly examine specific subjects or issues in detail, allowing for more comprehensive analysis and discussion. Members of the public are invited to serve on each committee. Information about each committee and how to join them can be found on the district website. And so since our last board meeting, our process will be that whatever committees have met from the prior board meeting to today are the committees, and our board member will just kind of give us an update as to what occurred at those committee meetings. So, excuse me, this month, the Arts and Preservation Committee had met. Mrs. Anderson, can we have an update?
Sure. So the Arts and Preservation Committee supports historic preservation efforts throughout the district. That, for an example, the historic Depression-era murals at the middle school. At our last meeting, which was March 3rd, we agreed to put up plaques to explain the history of the tile installations at Northwood, and here at the board office, they're out in that hallway out there. We're also discussing how to honor and explain the beautiful lintel near the pool area at Rums that was removed from Longfellow Elementary. The murals replicas behind us here at the board table, as well as the original historic Depression-era murals at Rums in the auditorium. They were also discussing as how to best honor them and explain their significance. These are just a few of the things we're talking about in this committee. Come join us. We'd love to have everyone there. Our next meeting will be 5:30 p.m. Monday, April 8th, here at the board office. And Miss Trustee Haynes and Trustee Cook also serve on that committee.
Thank you. Sorry I deviated from the agenda because I did it alphabetical order. It's like, oh, it's different than what's there. I was being tricky. This month, the Communications Committee has also met. Trustee Alexander.
You. The Communications Committee met on March the 12th. We had an opportunity to kind of have a sneak peek into a specific carved out mental health page that will be a part of our website, which I'm very excited about. Has a lot of super important information on there for students, families, teachers, etc. We also learned about some current projects. One of them I wanted to highlight tonight is called the Youth in Transit with the Smart Bus, and this is an opportunity that is kind of unique, and I'm excited to learn more about. There's going to be, we're going to be the inaugural district, but it will ultimately be, districts across the area that will get a chance to do this. But art from our students will be put into wrap form and be placed onto buses, and opportunities for our students. It's going to be displayed on 3 to 9 buses. We talked a little bit about some of the entries for technology and communications that have been happening with our students, and how this is kind of the award season that we're entering into. We got updates on student programming and WAOK, and then we looked into just understanding our reach on the various social media platforms. And we meet next again on June the 10th at 5 p.m.
Thank you. Next is the Curriculum Committee, and of course, I should have had the date and the future date, but I don't, so I'm the bad Curriculum Committee reporter. But I looked at Dr. Ioannis to help me out if he wants to.
I definitely wanted to help you, but I know that I talk a lot, so I was just waiting to get the signal
That's okay.
to mention that. So I believe it's March 19th is our next curriculum advisory.
That's next week.
Next
That's
week.
right.
So
that's next week.
it's next week.
It's
Thank
on
you.
the calendar. I haven't looked at next week yet. Anyhow, so the Curriculum Committee, obviously led by Dr. Ioannis, meets quarterly, and happy to say that we had a presentation done by Jennifer Nipper. And the committee members, it's Dr. Ioannis, Mrs. Anderson, Mrs. Cook, and myself. And then we have a few active community members that are educators as well, which is really a good fit for this committee. There was a presentation that Mrs. Nipper had done about trauma-informed training and how many staff that we have had trained thus far within the district through the four cohorts that we had go through. So we already have 126 staff trained, which is really great. They're also doing some train the trainer. There's a core team of members, and then additional upcoming training. In June, we'll train another 35 additional staff, and then in August, another 30 staff. So really important work that continues to be done in education and training that continues to happen. And, it's really about how trauma impacts students' ability to learn, and then it's helpful for adults to understand that impact and how they can better, help educate our students based on the students' circumstances. So I think that's really important. And the goal is a community where everybody feels safe and can succeed. So very grateful for that. And the presentation also described, learning brain versus survival brain, and on how adverse childhood experiences impact everybody, and then our continued work on the social emotional learning within the district. So grateful for all of that. And last but not least, the Wellness Committee, Trustee Haynes.
Yes, it begins with W, so I am last. Okay. Well, I think this committee, it's one of my favorites, and of course it's because it centers around food. And Mr. Jacobs always brings snacks for us to try, and I am no stranger to partaking. But we had a really great meeting. It was last week. And what's nice about this committee is we have a high school student on the committee with us. Charlotte Voss, and she really brings a nice viewpoint for what the students are thinking and what they like and don't like. So at our meeting, we talked about, it started off with Mike Jacobs talking about National School Breakfast Week and how much fun he's been having at the elementary levels, bringing pancakes and sometimes bacon to some of the kids. And he even got a little fancy and put chocolate chips in them. And so I kind of asked him, like, hey, do you need help? And I don't think he realized, like, hey, I'll come and flip those pancakes and maybe have one. So the kids love it. It's so great that you do that. And also how they've been doing global eats at ROMS and the high school. And last week it was Caribbean week, and then, or last month was month. Yeah, next month is Korea. So I think we all should go there and try some of the food. Sounds good. We also talked about social, emotional, and well-being. The group talked about what kind of supports do we offer our students in the elementary levels, middle school, high school, and we talked about Haven. We talked about okay to say. There was a lot of conversation. I think that was the majority of our meeting. But we actually have some takeaways. Miss Abella is on our meeting, so she had some homework that she was going to check on out for us. Miss Abella talked about the rebid for food service, which made us all very happy, and which she presented today. And also for social emotional well-being, we talked about suicide prevention and what we want to do as a committee. And we talked about new ideas, bringing maybe new assemblies in, dividing it up by 9th and 10th graders together, 11th and 12th graders together. We talked also about trauma-informed care training that's going on with our teachers. And we also talked about the questionnaire that was given to the Royal Oak High School students during COVID. It was like that wellness checkup, and how we think we might want to bring that back, because we know that there was a lot of feedback from it, and the needs of our high school students haven't changed. We still have kids who need help, but sometimes don't know how to say that they need it or are afraid to. And that questionnaire was really great, especially because it was on the phone, and kids, we love our phones, and adults. I have to read the last part because it's on the backside of my notes. And then the last part we talked about was future initiatives, and we talked about cell phone usage and how sometimes we think it's too much, especially in the schools, and how some of the elementary kids have them and the middle school kids. We love, though, that ROMS is cell phone free. We all know that. And we talked about the high school, like, do the kids have them? When do they pull them out? Do they not pull them out? Is it interfering with their learning? Our next meeting is June 5th at 4:30 p.m.
Thank you. I want to thank all our board members for their committee participation and then the committee reporting. I think this is a nice addition to the agenda for the public and also for the benefit of the other members, since we all divide up the committee work and attend the meetings. I think it's a really great help. I don't know, does anybody else have any additional comments? This is the board comments and committee. Mr. Jaworski.
Great. This week was the elementary school PTA meetings, and I am the liaison to Northwood, where I learned they've embraced and super succeeded in their composting projects that they're working on. The principal, according to a very non-scientific research, says that the composting in the cafeteria has decreased the cafeteria waste by, she believes, about 80%, which is huge. It's a little bit stinky and smelly sometimes, but it's a great thing. And again, thank food service and the PTAs and everybody for initiating this project and continuing on with it. And then for Women's History Month, I have a school board trivia fact for everybody that I found kind of amazing. That the parity in school boards in the United States is equal, that there are 51% of women and 49% of men serving on nationwide school boards. And the most interesting thing I found is women were serving on school boards 60 years before the 19th Amendment was passed, which I think is crazy. They were serving on boards that they couldn't even vote for themselves to be on. So remember that for trivia night.
I'll keep that one in the memory banks. Ms. Yasinski.
Speaking of, I want to invite anybody to join us at the Blessings in a Backpack Trivia Night. It's being held at the Royal Oak Elks Club at 6 p.m. on the 12th, right? Yeah, April 12th. I'm really excited. I love trivia. I'm really excited to do this again. We've got 2 full tables, I think, that we're filling out as a school board, an admin team. The school board team placed second last year, so we're looking for a rematch. But it's just going to be a great night, and Blessings in a Backpack is such a vital part of our community. They provide food for the whole weekend to families in our district that are food insecure. And it just is a really, really good way for us to make sure that we're constantly wrapping right services around our students and making sure that they have, are safe and well fed while they're away from us. And Blessings in a Backpack does an incredible job providing for them. They single-handedly held stuff together throughout the pandemic and the school closures and the COVID, and we just really want to continue to support that awesome project. So all of the funds from that night go back to their program. It stays right here in the Royal Oak community, and it's just a fun way for us to be a little bit friendly and competitive. Dinner catered by Cuisina, so it'll be a really fun night.
Thank you. I wouldn't really say it was a competition. Okay, it was, because I was on, the other team, so sorry about that. And just kind of piggybacking on community events, I don't know if Mrs. Fitzpatrick was going to talk about on April 20th is also the Rotary auction, and the Rotary Club, the proceeds from this event provide scholarships to many of our students. And so it's another great community event and another way to help students further. And it is actually a lot of fun. So if you're able to participate in that as well, there will be 1 or 2 tables. I'm trying to think. 2 tables at that event as well. And maybe we should introduce trivia. I'm just saying, maybe make a little competition. I'm just saying. So, yeah, and just a huge thank you to everybody for all their work, their continued work, and thank you to our students. The other thing, I was talking with our students before the meeting, and I'll talk to Mr. Jaworski and Mrs. Fitzpatrick, just the planning for next year's student board members. So we're going to get that process started and come up with a timeline. But thank you for that as well. And, we're very grateful to have student participation. I think it's always a great thing to have student voice when we do this work. Any other comments, questions? Mrs. Fitzpatrick.
Well, thank you. Just another reminder for our community and for our parents and students that March 25th through the 29th is spring break in the district. It's a little early this year. The board office is open during that time. As Mr. Walensky pointed out, we're very busy accepting enrollments online and then following up with appointments as needed. But the board office that week will be open Monday through Thursday while our schools are closed. Our board office staff will be hardworking here in the office. So if there's anything we can do, give us a call here. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, questions, we're adjourned.